to talk about flat feet posture. Hi, I'm Gemma from Generation Strength. I'm a personal trainer, a strength coach, and I specialise in posture. I decided to make this video because my previous how to walk video, 4 mistakes you're probably making, became very popular and I received hundreds of messages of people sharing their difficulties with walking. So firstly, thank you all for your comments. I do want to address that some of the comments did point out that flat feet is not a mistake and that it is a structural issue, and this is definitely something that I should have mentioned at the start of the previous video. It is definitely in some cases a structural issue and not a functional flat feet issue. It can certainly be a structural issue and it's definitely something that I should have led with in the previous video. My intention really wasn't to hurt or offend anybody. On that note, I also want to mention that it is completely normal for the foot arch to collapse when walking, but problems do start to occur when that becomes excessive, uncontrolled, or it becomes stuck in that position. So whether it is structural or it is habit-based, I feel that mostly everybody would benefit from what we're going to go over today in this video. It is about bringing awareness to your habits and your posture and also moving closer towards pain-free living. My goal with this video and my goal in general is just to help as many people as possible to move towards living pain-free. Physical pain can really take away the enjoyment out of life, so I hope that this video is very helpful, particularly for you flat-footers that want to run, walk, enjoy life and bike and move in general without pain. If you do find value in this video, don't forget to like it and subscribe. In this video, I will cover the 2 types of flat feet, what other factors affect flat feet. I'll also go over 3 tests that you can do to check for flat feet, and then go over some stretching, releasing and strengthening exercises. Whilst it is very possible that the arch will never be rebuilt or that flat feet will be instantly fixed or even fixed in the long term, I do believe that at the very least these movements will help to alleviate some of the pain for you if you do have structural flat feet. So it's definitely worth trying them out and assessing how you feel over the next few weeks. I do want to say that I'm not a physical therapist, so any recommendations I give, it's up for you to try them. So what is flat feet? Flat feet is a type of foot posture which involves the collapse of the inner arch of the foot. There are 2 types of flat feet. The first one is structural flat feet, so this is going to be caused by genetic factors. The chances are if one of your parents or both of your parents have flat feet, that you're going to be inherent to that as well. The second type is known as functional flat feet, and this is due to poor foot mechanics. It can be due to weak or tight foot muscles as well, or poor control in the ankle, feet, or even the toes. Some other factors that can affect flat feet are if you are overweight, this can alter the foot mechanics and it can lead to structural changes in the anatomy of the feet. The second is wearing shoes very often. Habitual footwear does change the shape and the biomechanics of the feet, so the more often you can be barefoot, the better, as this will help you to distribute the pressure on the feet more evenly. And the third is incorrect sport technique. So when it comes to walking or riding the bike or lifting weights or moving in general, you may notice that your knees start to track inward in all of these activities. That's because when the foot arch collapses against the ground, both the shin bone and the thigh bone twist inwards, and this affects the tracking of the knee. So it also tilts the hips forward, and in some cases the lower back can become a bit more exaggerated in the curve. So how do we test for flat feet? Well, there are 3 tests that I recommend. The first test is that you want to stand in front of a mirror, you want to turn slightly to the side and check if you can see an arch of your foot when you're standing.
Start by standing close to a mirror, and you can be in socks or without socks. You're going to check one arch at a time. So you're looking for if the arch is present or if the foot looks like it's flat to the floor. Once you've checked one side, make sure to turn around and check the other foot.
The second test is to stand up, to close your eyes, and to focus your attention on your feet. Where do you feel the pressure of your body weight on your feet? Is it towards the heel? Is it the outer part of the foot? Perhaps it's towards the ball of the foot? Or do you feel the pressure on the inner side near the arch? You're going to stand, and I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to think about the pressure of your body weight pushing down on your feet. And I want you to think and feel where you put the pressure on the foot. So is it back towards the heel? Is it on the outer part of the foot? Is it forward onto the toes with a little bit of a forward lean? Or is it towards the inner side where the arch is?
So as I close my eyes and I kind of feel and sense around, I'm going to feel where I feel the most pressure. Now, the chances are that if you do have flat feet, that you're going to feel the pressure towards the inner part where that arch would be.
The third test is to check the gap of the arch. I am going to demonstrate this one with Maite and we're going to go through it there. For the third and final test, you can get somebody else to help you out with this one, or you can do it when you're standing or sitting. I do recommend trying to do it when you're standing, it seems to be a little bit better. So when we're looking at the arch as a rough guide, we want to be able to get the fingertips underneath, so we're looking to about the first or the second tip. Anything below that point, it's going to probably be flat feet. So I'm checking underneath and Maite has to about here, so I wouldn't say that it's flat feet. I'm going to check her other foot. So actually, as we can see here, that she already kind of has an arch. So if we're looking at structural flat feet, you would see that this is completely kind of like flush to the ground and it will be touching. But anyway, we're going to check for any differences between sides. So placing under here and the other side. So what you might notice is that the fingertip underneath one of the feet doesn't seem to go as far under, that you have a feeling that one side is flatter than the other. And if that's the case, that one side is flatter than the other, you might be dealing with a rotational hip issue. So one way of checking this is if you stand up, and if you feel like this foot is coming in, and we have flat foot on this side, what you're going to see is that this bone and this bone, the shin bone and the tibia, rotate inward. So you're going to see that this knee points in, but also if this side is good, then the hip is going to rotate away from the side of the flat foot. So in this case with Maite, let's say that she has a left functional flat foot issue and her right side is good and it's cleared. It probably means that her hips are rotating away from her body, so they're rotating over here in this direction. And obviously if it was on the other side that you notice that the right foot it is flatter, that there's going to be a hip rotation away from the flat foot. So that's a good test to do if you notice that there's a bit of a discrepancy between each side of the foot. Also, another way to check for flat feet or overpronation is if you do have a camera, it would be better to set up like that, or you can use the mirror. What you're going to do is you're going to look at the Achilles heel, and what you're going to see is that usually it's going to be straight, as in that will be ideal posture. Sometimes you're going to notice that that line can kind of change depending on what foot issue that you have. So you'll want to look at the Achilles heel here. So if you can use a camera or you can have somebody check, but usually the line would be straight down. This will be perfect posture. And then this will deviate depending on what postural issue there is. So if I have flat feet or pronation, you're going to see that this bone comes in. So instead of getting the straight line down, you're going to see that the angle has changed. So we've done the 3 tests and maybe you found out that you do have flat feet, but now you want to know, do I have structural flat feet or functional flat feet? So if you don't yet know which one it is, then this test is for you. Start by sitting down or laying down and see if you can see the foot arch present. If it is, but when you're standing it disappears, then this is not going to be a structural flat feet. This is going to be functional flat feet. If you look at your foot whilst you're sat down and you see that there is no arch and it really looks flat, then yes, it probably is going to be structural flat feet. Before we get to the stretching, rolling and strengthening, it is a great idea to become aware of how your flat feet affects the rest of your body, affects walking and running and biking. Since these are the activities that we do most of the time, it's a good idea to start paying attention to the knees and also to the hips. Hip weakness, particularly weak glutes, can contribute to low arches or flat feet. If you have flat feet, you'll probably notice that your knees track inwards. So as you ride your bike, you're going to see that the knees are coming in towards the center line of the body. As you walk, the same thing is going to happen. Because of the flat feet, the knees are going to track inwards. This also occurs definitely when running, and usually this is when people have the most problems because flat feet can translate over into knee issues, particularly IT band problems. When the knee track inwards, this does place a lot of pressure on the surrounding muscles, as well as on the ankle joint, the knee joint and the hip joint. It's going to affect all the joints in the lower body. When you walk your bike or you run or you walk, try to keep your knees directly forward. This may be extremely uncomfortable and feel a bit weird at first, and that's completely normal. It also might be quite hard for you to keep your knees forward because of the position where your foot is flat. The knees are going to always want to track inwards. But the more attention you can pay to it, the more that you can try to self-correct it a little bit, and the chances are you're going to feel a little bit better by doing this.
Place a tennis ball or massage ball or even a golf ball underneath the foot and apply pressure to the ball. You want to roll the foot up and down, focusing on the arch and the lateral side of the arch. This is going to feel painful, but it's important to breathe into it and reduce the pressure if it feels like it's unbearable. Your estimated time is 1 to 3 minutes. For the second release, we're going to put the ball under the Achilles tendon. And you're going to apply pressure in a downward motion. So pressing down onto the ball and then making small side-to-side movements along the Achilles heel. Release number 3, you're going to place the ball under the lateral calf, also known as the perineal. And we're going to move up and down along the outside of the calf. Use your hand to apply more pressure. And we're going to do this for 1 to 3 minutes per side. If you find a spot that's particularly painful, hold the ball in that position, apply pressure with the hand, and hold it until the pain starts to subside. Then continue rolling back and forth again in larger strokes. Moving on to the stretches, the first stretch is a calf stretch. You're going to place the toes against the wall with the heel down on the floor and move your body weight towards the wall so you feel a nice stretch on the back of the calf, on the gastrocnemius. Hold this stretch for 60 seconds on both sides. Number 2, active ankle drill. You want to place the hand on the back of the heel, make sure that the heel stays in contact with the ground, and then push the knee forward. Here we're working on ankle flexibility. To turn this into an active ankle stretch, move the knee forward and backwards using as much range of motion as you can and aim to feel the movement and the stretch in the ankle as opposed to pressure around the knee. The third strengthening exercise is the heel drop and raise. Stand on top of a tall book or a stack of books and place a massage ball between the ankles. Squeeze the ball together, make sure that it doesn't slip, coming up onto the toes and then taking the heels down to the floor, getting a nice stretch on the back of the calf. As you come up onto the toes, get a forceful contraction on the back of the calves, squeeze as hard as you can in the top position and then come down for the full stretch. Aim to perform around 20 repetitions of this movement. Can be a little bit awkward with the ball, so I do recommend holding onto the wall or holding onto an object in front of you to steady yourself as you perform the repetitions. Next up we have a strengthening and stability exercise, the single leg star balance. So you're going to balance on one leg and you're going to create a star with the opposite leg. So taking the one leg forward, out to the side and back. Important notes here is you want to keep the knee pointing forward over the third and fourth toe and don't let the arch collapse. So you're going to move around on the foot trying to find the center of balance without letting the arch collapse and letting the knee come into the center of line. As you perform these single leg toe taps, I recommend putting the hands on top of the hips so you can feel that they are level and even and that you're not shifting the hips up and down. Want to perform the same on the other side, coming forward, out to the side and back, and as many different directions as you want to. I recommend performing this exercise for about 1 to 2 minutes on each side of the foot or for roughly 20 to 30 repetitions. The final strength exercise, we're focusing on rebuilding the arch with towel grabs. Here I'm using a sock. You want to place it underneath the big toe and the toes in general and focus on scrunching the towel or the sock up so that you're creating an arch again. If you feel an intense contraction under the arch or it feels like it's going to cramp, then this is a good sign.
I also strongly recommend wearing flatter, even shoes. Doesn't have to be the very thin, vibrant shoes because if you have lower back issues, this can cause some pain with that. But at least flat, even shoes, so you don't have the huge heel wedge at the bottom then coming down on a decline. Because shoes like this are going to affect your foot mechanics. It's hard for me to know where I'm putting pressure on my feet if I'm wearing shoes. It's like there's a desensitization, I can't connect to the ground. Since the proprioceptors are in the feet, it's really important that you minimize what you have underneath your foot. So if you can walk barefoot as much as possible, that's the best. It's also the best when babies walk, because you'll notice that if you put a baby in shoes, they start to kind of run and stumble a bit more. They seem to be way more steady on their feet when they are barefoot. So by having the shoes off and by walking barefoot, you are going to be able to get a feel for how you're walking, where the pressure of the foot is. So it's also going to help train you to think, okay, I feel the pressure on the inside of my foot. I'm going to try and even the pressure and distribute it amongst the foot. Also, when it comes to arch support, again, I'm not a person that looks after feet, orthopedic person. Yes, I'm not an orthopedic person, and I'm not a physical therapist. But the high arch shoe, in my opinion, is not the best idea, because a lot of the time people have the arch support to help with the flat feet. And in my opinion, it's kind of similar as to walking with a crutch, that you begin to rely on that crutch, and as a result, compensation is going to happen. Some muscles are going to be overworked because you're working extra muscles by holding that crutch, and you're working extra muscles by pressing against that supporting arch. And also, some muscles are going to become weaker as a result of not really being turned on and activated. So that is just my opinion in regards to that. If you have a different opinion, or if your personal provider has said otherwise, you keep doing you. That's it. That's all I have for you flat footers. I really hope that you found the video helpful. Please leave any comments or questions in the description below, and I'll make sure to answer you all. And don't forget, if you liked the video and you found value in it, please like and subscribe. Also, I've written a blog post about this topic that covers a little bit more detail than I've gone into in the video, and as always, the link is in the description below. And if you prefer to read over watching videos, or you like to do both and take in all of the information, I do release blog posts every 2 weeks, so that's 2 blog posts per month.